Hey everyone, and welcome to Guria Top Thinking. You've seen it everywhere, right? On TikTok, in your group chats, maybe even in therapy. The 5 love languages. It feels like this simple, magic key to unlocking your partner. But today, we're going to go way beyond the hype and uncover the skills that really build a connection that lasts. So let's get into it.
Come on, most of us have taken the quiz, right? And you get your result, maybe your words of affirmation or physical touch, and it feels like this huge aha moment, like finally, here's the map to a happy relationship. But what happens when you're following that map perfectly and you still feel totally lost?
And yeah, that's exactly where things can get, well, messy, like this Reddit user shared. Sometimes the framework ends up creating more pressure than it actually solves. You can end up feeling like you're failing a test you didn't even know you were taking, no matter how hard you try to speak your partner's language.
Okay, so let's be clear. We're not here to just trash the whole love languages idea. Not at all. We're going to use it as a jumping off point. And from there, we're going to build a way more powerful science-backed toolkit, one that's actually designed for the real, messy, and beautiful world of actual relationships.
So first things first, let's really get into the big debate. How did this idea get so popular in the first place? And more importantly, what are psychologists and even regular people saying about where it falls short?
And you can totally see the appeal, right? On one hand, it's a simple, elegant key to understanding each other. It's like, oh, that's why my partner doing the dishes doesn't mean as much to me as a really heartfelt compliment. But on the other hand, there's a real danger here. Psychologists warn that you just can't sort the beautiful complexity of a human being into 5 little boxes. And even worse, these labels can become weapons, a way to say you're not loving me right instead of actually starting a real conversation.
But hey, let's give credit where it's due. As this user points out, it's not all bad. For couples who don't even know where to start talking about their needs and affection, it can be a fantastic icebreaker. It gives you a shared vocabulary and helps you see your partner's actions as an attempt at love, even if it's not your preferred style. And that can be incredibly validating.
But this quote from Zalgorithmic really hits the nail on the head. The quiz spits out a single answer, and that makes us narrow our focus. You think, great, my partner is a quality time person. I'll just schedule more date nights. Problem solved. But people are never, ever that simple. It tricks us into thinking we have the solution when what we really need is to broaden our entire approach.
All right, so if we can agree that those 5 boxes are just a little too small for most of us, then what's next? This is where we stop just talking about the problem and start building a better toolkit.
I want you to think of it like this. The love languages got you to open the door to have a deeper conversation. And honestly, that's a huge step. But now you're in the room, and you need the right tools to actually navigate what's inside. Let's start with 2 of the most powerful foundational skills you can possibly learn.
First up, emotional regulation. Now, this is not about bottling your feelings up or pretending you're not upset. It's the exact opposite. It's the skill of being able to feel your anger or your frustration without letting it completely hijack the conversation. It's the difference between saying, I'm feeling really hurt by what you just said, versus just yelling. Seriously, without this skill, even the best communication script in the world is going to fail.
And right alongside that, you need healthy boundaries. This is all about knowing what's your responsibility and what isn't. For example, it's your responsibility to ask for what you need, but it is not your responsibility to manage your partner's disappointment if they can't meet that need right away. Boundaries aren't walls to keep people out. They're the very foundation for mutual respect and a true partnership.
Okay, so with those 2 foundations in place, let's get into the really practical tools. And, the most fundamental communication skill of all isn't talking, it's actually listening. And I'm talking about more than just waiting for your turn to speak. Active listening is like a full body sport. You gotta put the phone down, notice their body language, ask open-ended questions like, can you tell me more about that? Instead of questions that just get a yes or no. And here's the hardest but most important part. Listen only to understand them, not to plan your comeback. All right, now for the topic everyone just loves to avoid, conflict. But look, having arguments doesn't mean your relationship is failing. It just means you're both human. The real difference between a healthy and an unhealthy relationship is how you argue. So the legendary researcher John Gottman found 4 communication styles so destructive that he calls them the 4 horsemen. They are criticism, contempt, defensiveness, and stonewalling. But here's the amazing part. For each one of these poisons, he found an antidote. For instance, instead of criticism, like, you're so lazy, you offer a specific complaint using an I statement. I feel overwhelmed when the dishes are left in the sink.
It completely shifts from an attack on them to a statement about your needs. It is a total game changer.
Okay, so that helps you know how not to argue. But what about just starting a difficult conversation in the first place, without immediately putting your partner on the defensive? Well, believe it or not, there's a script for that.
It's called nonviolent communication, or NVC, and it's this super simple 4-step formula. You start with a neutral observation. When I see clothes on the floor, notice you're not saying you're a slob. Then you state your feeling. I feel stressed. Then your need, because I need our space to feel orderly so I can relax. And finally, you end with a clear, positive request. Would you be willing to put them in the hamper before bed? See the difference? It's not an accusation. It's an invitation for them to partner with you to meet your need.
So as we start to wrap this up, let's be really clear. This is not about just throwing out the whole love languages concept. It's about seeing it for what it is, a simple starting point, and then upgrading to a much more sophisticated, effective, and empathetic toolkit.
So here it is, your big takeaway. Move beyond the simple labels. Listen with the real intention of understanding. Learn how to argue in a way that actually brings you closer instead of pushing you apart. And finally, learn how to ask for what you need clearly and kindly. These are the skills that build relationships that don't just survive, they really truly thrive.
So I'm going to leave you with this question. What is one conversation that you've been avoiding? You know the one. Maybe it's about money, or chores, or a tricky family situation. Just think about how one of these tools, maybe an NBC request or a Gottman antidote, could help you finally start it. I'd love to hear your thoughts, so drop them in the comments. Thanks so much for tuning in.